Do you love puppies as much as Sadie and Maxwell do? Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the sweet love story that started with Sir Paws-a-Lot. Drop your pup's name in the comments below. Who knows, they might have their own fateful adventure too. Sadie Harper wasn't the type to dream of grand things. At 22, she was used to surviving day by day in the biting cold of Hawthorne, a small New England town. Winter was closing in, and the Christmas fair, where she picked up odd jobs like cleaning candy stalls or wrapping gifts for hire, was her only lifeline. Homeless, yes, but Sadie didn't let that define her. She had a radiant smile, messy brown hair tied back with a rubber band, and a resilience even December's chill couldn't snuff out. That morning, the sky was gray, wind whipping through the Central Park like it aimed to freeze everything solid. Sadie had just earned $5 helping an old lady wrap presents, enough for a cheap lunch. Crossing a path near the frozen lake, she heard a faint whimper. Looking down, she spotted a small, white, fluffy puppy shivering on thin ice. Its round eyes pleaded with her, and Sadie knew the lake wouldn't hold its weight much longer. "Oh gosh, little guy, what are you doing out here?" she muttered, kneeling at the edge. Without a second thought, she yanked off her old wool gloves, the only thing keeping her warm in the -10 cold, and inched forward. The ice crackled under her hands, but Sadie didn't care. She reached out, pulling the pup into her arms, wrapping it in her gloves to warm it up. "All right, kiddo, I've got you." From a distance, Maxwell Reed stood frozen. He'd been scouring the park for Sir Paws, the beloved pup he'd raised from a tiny ball of fur. As CEO of Reed Toys, a renowned toy company, Maxwell wasn't accustomed to losing control. Tall and stern, with sleek black hair combed back and piercing eyes that could cut through anything, he exuded command. But now, watching this slight girl risk her life for his dog, something unfamiliar stirred in his chest. Sadie stood, cradling the pup, cooing and laughing. "You're a little troublemaker, huh? I'm calling you Sir Paws-a-Lot. Sounds fancy." She didn't notice Maxwell approaching, his expensive leather shoes silent on the thin snow. "That's my dog," Maxwell said, his voice deep and slightly cold. Sadie jolted, nearly dropping Sir Paws. Before her stood a man dressed impeccably, long wool coat, gray scarf, looking utterly out of place in the snowy park. "Oh, really? You should leash him better," Sadie shot back, unfazed. She handed Sir Paws over, still tucking her gloves around him. "He almost turned into a pup cycle out there." Maxwell raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by her bluntness. He took the dog, feeling the warmth from the worn gloves Sadie had sacrificed. "Thank you," he said, reaching for his wallet. "Let me pay you for this." Sadie waved him off, grinning wide. "I didn't do it for money. He's too cute to freeze." She glanced at Sir Paws, then at Maxwell, adding a tease. "You're not bad either, if you learn to take better care of him." Maxwell paused. No one spoke to him like that, especially not a girl with tangled hair, a torn coat, and beat-up boots. But instead of bristling, he felt his lips twitch, a rare smile. "I owe you a hot cocoa," he said, nodding toward the fair's drink stall nearby. "To say thanks." Sadie tilted her head, pretending to mull it over. "Only if Sir Paws agrees first," she quipped, winking at the pup. Maxwell let out a small laugh, his first of the day, and nodded. "He's on board." They walked off together, snow starting to fall lightly, dusting their shoulders like an unexpected romantic veil. Sadie had no idea this moment would change her life forever, and Maxwell never imagined this tiny girl would soon melt the ice around his heart. After that hot cocoa at the Christmas fair, Sadie thought her encounter with Maxwell Reed and Sir Paws-a-Lot would remain a fleeting, cheerful memory amid the harsh winter. But the next morning, as she swept snow around the candy stall at the fair, Maxwell appeared, still in his expensive wool coat, cradling Sir Paws as if afraid it might bolt again. "You," he called, his voice deep but less icy than yesterday. Sadie turned, her broom nearly brushing his polished leather shoes. "I have a proposition." Sadie raised an eyebrow, planting the broom like a warrior's staff. "If it's to buy my broom, it's not for sale. It's my best friend this season." Sir Paws yipped softly, as if agreeing with her jest. Maxwell cleared his throat, hiding a smile. "Not that. I'm heading to New York for a 3-day business trip. Sir Paws needs a sitter. I want you to do it." He paused, eyeing her tattered shoes and thin coat. At my place, paid. Sadie blinked, then laughed so hard a few nearby vendors glanced over. Seriously? A CEO hiring a snow sweeper to watch his dog? Don't you have someone fancier? But in her mind, the thought of a warm place to sleep, even briefly, was too tempting to refuse. I don't trust anyone else, Maxwell replied, his gaze steady. He likes you. And I... He stopped, correcting himself quickly. I think you do it well. Sadie nodded, raising a finger. Fine, but on one condition. I get to officially name him. From now on, he's Sir Paws-a-Lot. Deal? She glanced at the pup, who wagged his tail happily. Maxwell sighed but nodded. Deal. The next day, Sadie stepped into Maxwell's mansion on Hawthorne's outskirts, a sprawling home with floor-to-ceiling windows and pristine white decor straight out of a magazine. Clutching her worn backpack, she gaped in the living room. Holy cow, Sir Paws. You live this fancy and still sneak off to an icy lake? Maxwell led her upstairs to a small guest room with a fireplace and fold-out bed. You stay here. Food's in the kitchen. Don't burn my house down. He turned to leave, but Sadie called after him. Hey, do you sing lullabies to Sir Paws? I need to know his routine. Maxwell shook his head, though his lips twitched upward again. The next few days were a mix of chaos and hilarity. Sadie spilled hot cocoa on the pristine white rug in the living room, yelling, sorry, to Sir Paws as if he owned the place. She sang an off-key jingle bells to the pup, who tilted his head in confusion. On the second night, Maxwell returned early due to a canceled flight. He walked in to find Sadie mid-impromptu dance with Sir Paws in her arms, twirling around an unfinished Christmas tree. What are you doing? Maxwell asked, standing at the door, arms crossed. Sadie jumped, nearly dropping Sir Paws again. Teaching him to dance? So he's not sad while you're gone? She grinned sheepishly, setting the pup down. Maxwell eyed the tree, a tangle of lights and a few lonely ornaments. You're decorating it like that? He stepped forward, picking up a red ribbon from the table. Let me help. They worked together, the room warming beyond the fireplace's glow. Sadie shared a childhood dream, opening a little bakery with star-shaped cookies. I used to bake with my mom before. She trailed off, her eyes briefly dimming. Maxwell didn't press, silently tying a ribbon to a branch. When Sadie reached for a high ornament, he steadied her hand to keep her from falling. Their fingers brushed, and they froze for a moment. Sadie pulled back, faking a cough. Thanks. You're pretty handy. Maxwell looked at her, his gaze softer than usual. You're not bad either, with Sir Paws, I mean. But his rare smile hinted at something more. That night, as Sadie curled up by the fireplace with Sir Paws, she didn't know Maxwell lingered outside the door, watching her and thinking, she's unlike anyone I've met. The ice in him began to crack, little by little. The 3 days watching Sir Paws-a-Lot flew by like a winter gust, and Sadie grew accustomed to the warmth of Maxwell's mansion. She stopped spilling cocoa on the rug, though Sir Paws still eyed her warily whenever she held a mug. When Maxwell returned from New York, he brought an unexpected offer. My company's Christmas charity gala is tomorrow night. Could you come with me? Sir Paws needs a supervisor. Sadie was surprised but didn't refuse. Sure, but I've got nothing to wear, unless you want me showing up in this torn coat and boots. Maxwell smirked, made a call, and 2 hours later, a simple emerald dress and flats arrived. Sadie checked herself in the mirror, muttering to Sir Paws, Do I look like an ice princess, little guy? The gala took place at a lavish hotel in downtown Hawthorne, with glittering chandeliers and a festive Christmas buzz. Sadie brought a box of homemade star-shaped cookies to thank Maxwell. As they entered, she greeted people awkwardly, but her natural smile drew amused chuckles from a few guests. Maxwell introduced her simply. This is Sadie, who saved Sir Paws. He didn't elaborate, but his gaze softened unusually when it landed on her. Things went smoothly until Lila, Maxwell's personal assistant, appeared. Tall and blonde with a razor-sharp stare, Lila had long harbored a crush on him. Seeing him with a snow sweeper irked her. Sadie, oblivious, offered her cookie box to some guests. I made these. Try them, they're good. They raved, and a white-bearded man joked, "You should open a bakery. I'd invest." Then drama struck. Lila secretly tipped off a local tabloid, revealing Sadie as a homeless girl staying at Maxwell's. The news spread like wildfire. As Sadie held a cup of hot cider, whispers grew. A pearl-clad woman asked loudly, "Are you really homeless? What are you doing here?" Sadie froze, her smile vanishing. Maxwell stepped forward, hand on her shoulder. "She's my guest," he said, voice icy, scanning the crowd. "Anyone with a problem can leave." The room hushed, but Sadie's face burned. She pushed his hand away, whispering, "Why didn't you warn me? I don't want to be a laughingstock." Without waiting for an answer, she set the cookies down and fled into the frigid night. Back at the mansion, Sadie packed her backpack, borrowed shoes still in hand. She sat with Sir Paws, stroking him one last time. "Sorry, buddy. Take care of your boss." She scribbled a note. "Thanks for everything. Look after Sir Paws better than I did." Then she left, abandoning the shoes and pup behind the door. The drama didn't end there. Maxwell returned to find the note and Sir Paws moping by the fireplace. He slammed his fist on the table, dialing Lila. "What the hell did you do?" Lila feigned innocence. "I just thought you should know who she really is." Maxwell cut her off. "You're fired. Don't show your face again." Grabbing his keys, he raced out to find Sadie. A small twist emerged as he sat alone in his car, clutching her note. He muttered, "She doesn't know." Maxwell had once been an orphan, raised in a home before a wealthy family adopted him. He knew the sting of being an outsider better than anyone, but he'd never told Sadie. He cursed himself for not speaking sooner, for letting her think he was ashamed of her. Meanwhile, Sadie huddled at a bus stop, clutching her backpack, fighting tears. Snow fell thicker, blanketing her messy hair. She whispered to herself, "You're so stupid, Sadie. No more fairy tales." Deep down, she wasn't mad at Maxwell. She was mad at herself for hoping too much. Maxwell drove through the streets, eyes tense. He had to find her, not just for Sir Paws, but because his heart, for the first time in years, was pounding for someone. Sadie huddled at the bus stop, thick snow blanketing her worn boots. She clutched her backpack, fighting tears by whispering to herself, "You're fine, Sadie. You've slept on worse streets than this." But the cold wasn't just the weather. It seeped into her heart after the gala. She didn't blame Maxwell for inviting her. She blamed herself for thinking she could fit into his world, even for a night. Meanwhile, Maxwell drove through Hawthorne's snow-laden streets, hands gripping the wheel. He'd searched the park, the Christmas fair, even the tiny cafe where she'd once washed dishes. Finally, the bus stop's faint glow emerged, revealing Sadie, a small figure in the white expanse. He parked, stepped out, breath fogging in the frigid air. "Sadie!" he called, voice hoarse with worry. She looked up, eyes red but forcing a weak smile. "What are you doing here? Did Sir Paws run off again?" she teased, though her voice trembled. Maxwell sat beside her, ignoring the wet bench. "I'm sorry," he said, meeting her gaze. "About the gala, about not warning you. I didn't think it'd turn out like this." Sadie tried to interrupt, but he raised a hand. "Let me finish. You need to know the truth." He took a deep breath, eyes distant. "I was an orphan, lived in a home until I was 10, mocked as throwaway trash. The Reeds adopted me, but I never forgot feeling like an outsider. When Lila did that to you, I saw myself in you, and I couldn't let you leave without hearing this." Sadie blinked, stunned. She hadn't imagined Maxwell, the stern man with a grand mansion and a famous toy company, sharing a past so like hers. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked, voice softening. "Because I was scared," Maxwell admitted, revealing vulnerability for the first time. "Scared you'd think I pitied you, when really, you reminded me to believe in people. You're real, Sadie. You're my Christmas miracle." His words lit a small flame in her heart. Sadie pursed her lips, then let out a quiet laugh. "Miracle? I don't even have decent gloves." But she didn't push him away. "I'm not mad at you, Maxwell. I'm mad at me for thinking I wasn't good enough for your world." Maxwell took her hand, her icy fingers cradled in his warm ones. "You're more than enough. You're the only one I want beside me, not those fake gala people." He pulled her up. Come on, I know a place better than this dreary bus stop. They drove to the outdoor ice rink in the park, where Christmas lights twinkled and Winter Wonderland played. Maxwell rented skates for them, despite Sadie's warning. I'm awful at this. Don't blame me if I drag you down. He grinned. I can handle it. True to her word, they fell constantly. Sadie flailed, pulling Maxwell with her, both laughing amid the crowd. Snow fell, dusting their hair and shoulders like tiny stars. During another tumble, Maxwell caught her, and they landed close on the ice, breaths mingling. He looked into her eyes, then leaned in slowly. Their kiss was gentle, warm, melting the surrounding chill. Pulling back, Sadie blushed, whispering, My nose is freezing. Maxwell laughed. Mine too. From afar, Sir Paws, brought by a park worker on Maxwell's orders, barked as if cheering. Sadie giggled, pulling Maxwell up. He's our biggest fan. They skated on, hand in hand, no hesitation left. That night, back at the mansion, Sadie sat by the fireplace with Sir Paws, while Maxwell watched from a distance. He knew he'd found something priceless. Not wealth or fame, but a heart that matched his own. And Sadie, for the first time in years, felt she belonged somewhere. After that night of ice skating and a kiss under the snow, Sadie felt her heart lighter than ever. She stayed at Maxwell's mansion a few more days, no longer intent on leaving right away. But as Christmas week neared its end, doubts crept in. Should I stay? Or is this just a beautiful dream that'll fade? She didn't want to burden Maxwell, though his eyes, whenever he looked at her, suggested otherwise. On the morning before New Year's Eve, Sadie made a choice. She quietly packed her backpack, leaving a note on the kitchen table. Thanks for giving me a special Christmas. Wishing you and Sir Paws happiness. She gave Sir Paws a final pat, whispering, Don't be too naughty, little guy. Then she stepped out, snow falling gently in the yard. But Maxwell wasn't one to let her slip away so easily. He woke early, found her gone, and the note tightened his chest. Not this time, he muttered, throwing on a coat, grabbing Sir Paws and rushing out. He knew she couldn't have gone far, not with those tattered boots and old backpack. Sadie sat on a park bench, the spot where they'd first met. She gazed at the frozen lake, recalling the moment she saved Sir Paws, and smiled sadly. You're the biggest trouble I've ever met, kid, she said to the air. Just then, hurried footsteps crunched behind her. Sadie! Maxwell called, breathless, holding Sir Paws. She turned, startled to see him, hair mussed by wind, eyes blazing. I'm not letting you go again. Maxwell, Sadie started, but he held up a hand. He set Sir Paws down, and she noticed the pup wore a new collar with a tiny, sparkling ring attached. Sadie's jaw dropped as Maxwell knelt before her, hands trembling but voice steady. You saved Sir Paws, and he saved me by finding you, he said, locking eyes with her. I'm not good with sweet words, but I know I want you here. Not just this Christmas, but forever. Sadie Harper, will you marry us? Me and Sir Paws? Sadie blinked, then laughed so hard a few birds scattered from the trees. Marry both of you? Are you serious? She bent to look at Sir Paws, who wagged his tail as if agreeing. Fine, but only if Sir Paws walks me down the aisle. Maxwell laughed, standing to pull her into his arms. Deal. They embraced amid the snowy park, Sir Paws leaping around their feet, barking like a Christmas tune. Sadie whispered in his ear, You're the best surprise I've ever had. Maxwell kissed her forehead, replying, You too. The scene shifts to months later, a vibrant spring in Hawthorne. Sadie and Maxwell stood behind the counter of Paws Pastries, their new little bakery in the town center. Sadie, apron dusted with flour, sold star-shaped cookies. Maxwell, playing regular customer, walked in with Sir Paws, feigning seriousness. 10 cookies, please. I hear VIPs get a discount. Sadie raised an eyebrow, grinning wide. VIP? You're my very important pup lover, so you get a free kiss. She leaned over the counter, pecking his lips, prompting playful applause from a few customers. Maxwell blushed, a rare sight, lifting Sir Paws to hide his embarrassment. The camera panned out, the cozy bakery glowing in the town, laughter ringing warmly. On screen, the beginning appeared instead of the end, promising a sweet start for the couple and their beloved pup. Loved Sadie, Maxwell, and Sir Paws-a-Lot's story? Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment with your favorite moment or your pup's name. Don't miss more heartwarming tales. Ring that bell and stay tuned.